One last thing I did before I call it a day here, after finishing up those drawers, is I glued up stock, plain down to 7/8 of an inch, 7/8 of an inch thick. That'll give me 2 3/4 thickness, but I need to get that down to 2.5. So 2.5 square at the top, tapered down to 2 inches at the bottom, over 5-inch length. There you are. That's going to be a nice blank. Like anything, it's going to have good sides and bad sides, I guess. This will be probably one of the inside edges right here has got these knots that showed up. But all in all, not too bad. I've got 3 good sides to work with. So I'm going to cut this now into, like I said, 2 blanks. What do I have for a length here? I think it's about 24 inches. Well, it's more than that. Probably about 30. So I can get 4 legs out of this for sure. And that's all I plan on getting is 4. So I'll cut it in half, lay out my tapers, and I'll show you how I'm going to cut those. So I ended up with a 4-footer, 31 inches, and the one in the back here is 30, just over 36 and a half. Nice square stock. Okay, 2.5 by 2.5, and I want 2 by 2 on the bottom, so I'm marking 1/4 of an inch from each edge. There's that. So that's not a lot of material to remove. That's why I'm still kind of undecided about my method. Now I need to come up 5 inches from the bottom. Let me get my other marking device. Okay, so that's my 0 line, and I'm tapering from there to 1/4 of an inch. So I'm going to put 1/4 of an inch mark down here as well. And that is what I want to remove right there. And I just think I'm going to do this on the bandsaw. Alright, I've decided to do this on the table saw. My tapering jig will not work because this clamp won't adjust to the height of this block. So I've decided to make kind of a one-time jig using this as my hold down. So what I'm going to do is I've laid out a line here. I'm going to cut a slot all the way through to the width of this clamp, and then just a hair deeper than the thickness. And then I'll show you what I've got in mind for the fence, which will actually hold the clamp in place. I made my jig, and then I realized I was on the wrong side of this opening. When I had it on this side and went to clamp my piece, yeah, this fence held the clamp down, but not enough. I was still ended up just basically squeezing the piece, and it didn't work. But my groove was correct. Now I'm underneath here, and when I put my piece in, now it clamps it to the jig nice and securely, and I can make my cuts. Let's see what happens here. Alright, I've got to clamp that tighter, that's for sure, on that last pass. I can clean up the rest of this with a plane iron, or with the plane. Not bad. Nice taper. The only thing is that on this side I got some tear out on that middle board, so you know, you basically would put that to the, probably to the back, but hopefully I'll end up with legs where I don't get any tear out. But let me grab my, here's my square. It's supposed to be 2 inches at the bottom, and I am dead nuts 2 inches. So this is 2.5 inches square up here. At 5 inches, yeah, I've gone past that line, just barely. So my jig, I would need to kick this end over a little bit. All right, I made a minor tweak to my jig last night. I moved this fence over just a little bit, so I had to drill a new hole here. I moved it probably, I moved it this way, maybe a 1/16 of an inch is all. And that the reason I did that is because when I got done finished hand planing, I ended up above my line. So I want to start the cut just past the line, and then see how that works. I think I've got it set now where I want it. So I'm also going to use a rapid action clamp here instead of that Acme screw thread. This is a little faster, I think. Got to make sure I don't jack that up. There we go. Make sure everything stays flat, square. I'm still not able to get all the way through this. Probably should have used like 1/2 inch plywood, but that's okay. I'll just keep rotating it, make my cut. I'm going to flip it in front and do the other end, and see what these two legs look like when I get done here. One thing I will tell you is that once you get these little flaps on here, sometimes they want to close up on you, and when you get to the end of the cut, you get little pieces of shrapnel coming back at you. So that first time it kind of startled me, but just be aware that, you know, sometimes they'll go this way, and that's no problem, but if they want to close up, this thing flapping around, you get little shards coming off, and you want to make sure you're wearing these. And if they hit you in the face, don't panic. Just stay steady and push it through. So the one thing about doing it this way is I've got this square or this flat face to still register against my fence out here, which is nice. You know, gives me a much bigger surface, and now you can see that that cut line is short of my layout line there, so I can plane from this direction down and come back to my line. Earlier you saw me create these wedges. I took the one that fits perfectly and put it in here so it's trapped between my stop and my piece. Then the other ones that are a little bit fat, I'm using those to give me you know, parallel faces here to clamp to. I think I've got a pretty good setup here. My blade is a thin kerf blade. It's just above the height of this setup. So if I push this through, I should be able to get what I want. And then when I cut that off, I'll rotate my piece, clamp just the one side, and run that through again. We'll see. Maybe I'll have enough meat left here that I can clamp the face. You know, the square part I've left here. So let's give this a shot and see what happens here. Pretty well. Now for the second cut, up against my stop. No, there's not enough room. So I've got to make sure that this is flat to the table. Just like that. guess this isn't gonna matter. I'm putting a wedge underneath this side, but that's not gonna help me at all. I've just gotta get it flat here. Get it clamped tight. Okay. It's nice. And those are very, very close. I can work with that. There they are, all 14 of them. They are very consistent. Next thing will be to figure out how we're going to attach them to our nightstands, and then we can go from there and start working on another piece.